we're gonna make this part 2 about the pineal gland, since my phone died on the first one, so you only got all that stuff about people's. So almost every animal that has a brain has a pineal gland. So see, you can also harvest animal pineal glands, which is happening. The only difference between that is you got to be aware of what your animal is like. You got to connect to them, man. It's like cats, for instance. A cat's pineal gland, well, they hunt. So, and if you've noticed a cat, they'll sit there quietly, not move. And birds and stuff will actually get really close to them. Well, cats mimic. That's how they hunt. And their thoughts, they make the same noises as their prey. You know, so they trick their prey into getting close enough, and then they attack and pounce. That's what they do. You know, that's what you're gonna get if you harvest cat pineal glands. You're gonna turn yourself into a mimic. You know, on the telepathic link. Dogs, well, dogs listen. They listen hard all the time. You know, and they're over sexualized, as in, and they don't care what they hump. So you harvest the dog's pineal gland, you're gonna hear everybody very well, and you're gonna be over sexualized. And you're not gonna care. You're gonna get turned on, man, women. It won't matter. It won't matter at all. It's crazy. Makes you think about all the other animals. Makes you think about what's been going on for a long time. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I don't really care anymore. You know, ever since I figured out about all this, I listened at first. Not to hunt or anything, but just to figure out who is who, and what was what, and what was going on. Well, yeah, it's crazy. All this curiosity and stuff, it almost got me sacrificed. But it's not anything I wasn't used to. My family sacrificed me so they had a peace of mind. In a small town. Then they sacrificed me again for another town. But in all truth, all this honesty would have worked out a lot better. So yeah. That's information about the pineal glands of the animals. So let's say if you got some curious cat out there that wants to go try that without having to, commit human murder, well, there you go. There's animals. I don't recommend it. There's more going on than what you realize, and there's more going on than what even the people who have been doing this for a long time realize. It all comes at a cost. See, and usually, from what I understand, the rules are you need to be willing, you know. Unless you're going to be, bait or whatever like that, or you're going to be food for somebody, then they'll give you certain pineal glands, and then they'll try to drive you crazy on the telepathic network. Try to get you to kill yourself. They'll threaten you. They'll act like your friend, and you notice it. People who have been on the frequencies too long and have been listening to people, they tend to have a habit of mimicking them. And after a while, they lose control. So as you're talking to them, you'll see their lips move. And, as they mimic you, you'll be able to tell. like, what the heck is this person doing? They're trying to establish a telepathic connection to you. They're trying to get your voice down so that they can listen to your thoughts and attack you. It's just how it works. You know, there's this old lady around here. She's the one that taught me that because I caught her mimicking me. It's not like she was really trying to hide it or anything like that. Sheila Van Epps. And yeah, pretty easy to recognize her voice. She was very nice at first, but the more she talked crap about other people behind their back, the less I liked her. Because I don't like to do that. I'm not going to sit there and talk bad about people and then be nice to them to their face. You know, at least not to other people. I might think it, all the bad stuff or whatever like that. Hey, and if you guys have to listen to that on telepathic network, then you're going to have, you know, hey, it is what it is, you know. You have to listen to whatever I think, you know. Because, hey, I'm sorry, this society tells and raises their kids that their thoughts are safe. They're only their own. Nobody can get in their mind, blah, 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 that. And then, you know, if anybody happens to get on that telepathic network without permission and then they talk about it, they throw them in a psych ward. They tell everybody, oh, they're schizophrenic. They're hearing voices that aren't real, but they are. And they know this. I'm sorry, but the institutions that do all this stuff, they know because they supply the perfect medicine, you know, to be able to repress your loud thoughts. Lithium. Lithium will literally melt your prefrontal cortex. It'll melt it. It'll make it smooth, and you won't be able to think. You'll be stuck having to listen, you know, and eventually it will rot your pineal gland, which you won't be able to listen to anything. You're just a mindless zombie wandering around, drinking, you know, doing whatever a mindless zombie does. You just, you know, and it kills people quick. Lithium, the lithium they supply, at least for schizophrenics, you know, it's not good for your brain. It really isn't. It melts your brain, and that's the only treatment, you know, they really offer for schizophrenia. But it's that right there gave it away. A drug that will rot your brain for people who say they're hearing voices. You know, they're hearing people's thoughts, and then you give them something to rot their brain. Sounds like a trap to me. That's crazy. So yeah, don't expect any hospitals. Don't expect your parents to even help you, even if they know what's going on. They'll lie straight to your face. They'll sacrifice you to a lockup facility. You know, they don't care. They really don't. Most parents, mothers included, will sacrifice their kids. Or if they have multiple kids, they'll sacrifice one for the rest. You know? It was crazy because there's not supposed to be any more sacrifices. You know, or you're supposed to sacrifice yourself for your kids. You're not supposed to sacrifice your kids for yourself, for your own peace of mind. I lied to myself for years, saying, "Oh, blah blah this, you know, oh, she really did care. There's nothing she could have done or whatever." But the fact of the matter is, that was just lies I told myself because I loved my mother and my family. And then I found out that they were participating in people trying to drive me crazy. My own mother participated with my brother and robbed me blind after driving me crazy because I had somehow got on that telepathic network. And that's the thing. It's, you know, it sucks. It wasn't because I wanted to be. Honestly, if people were like, hey, this is what this is will do to you, be able to blah blah blah. I'd be like, no, I already know what people think of me. I don't care. I don't care what people are thinking. But yeah, because of their secrecy and all that and their fear, they, my own brother, my own mother, my own sister, were all involved in trying to drive me crazy and then wiping me out of everything except a couple of my tools. Pretty much saying, hey, get back to work and go make us more money, you know. And some of the stuff they took was worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and I just had to let it go. Or just let it go, you know. It's fine, except growing up, whenever I took somebody else's stuff, you know, they didn't let it go. Not like I did on multiple times. They took my stuff too, you know. And before we're like, oh, you're crazy, your family and your brother, you know, they're, oh, you guys look so nice and you guys are so kind and you love each other. It's like, well, yeah, I know. That's what made me set up the camera underneath my trailer at the time and catch my brother huddled up, listening to me. He's not the only one I caught. I got multiple people on camera that snuck into my house. You know, some of them got in there in ways I don't even know how they got in. Like their doors were locked, and they didn't come in through the windows, but all of a sudden they popped up on my camera. You know, some of it I understood. Like I went underneath my trailer at the time, and I found thieves' entries. You know, you just take a knot of wood and you turn it, and then you're able to push a panel of flooring up. Caught a couple of those in there. You know, which I sealed from up above. And that's when it really got bad. That's when all the bad stuff really started. You know, they just wanted to, they wanted the knowledge in my head from my dad's side of the family. That's all they wanted. They were willing to sit there and listen to me for years and years and years just to try to get something. And they sold a lot. I realized that they were selling me out to other people on that telepathic network. I had my suspicions when I was young, and I had confirmation, you know, just within the last 4 to 6 years. And that's the truth for a lot of people out there. Some people have people's kids just to steal knowledge from other people. Why? Because they're stupid and they can't connect to the base that everybody is one thing and nobody is separate. You know, they can't access it like that because they want to keep themselves separate. And so therefore they are separate. I'm not like them. I understand the truth. They separated themselves. It's crazy. It's crazy that people would sit there and listen to you burn alive, rather than admit their secrets. And that's what I found out my family was willing to do. They were willing to listen to me burn to death and try to scare me and, you know, scare tactics. You know, just like that prison program where they bring kids to there. You know, That right there told me my family really never knew me. I was never going to let that go. I was never going to be scared straight. But hey, I got a lot of knowledge from it. I found out that people are harvesting pineal glands from other people, you know. I found out that there's a cannibal ring that's running the whole United States, and that I found out the church is involved. I found out the government's involved. I found out that probably every major corporation, the fat cats are involved. Because one thing human pineal glands will give you is intelligence. So imagine somebody that's able to run like that with high intelligence for years and years and years. Yeah, all your CEOs of all your major corporations are most likely participating in a form of human cannibalism where they are literally harvesting human pineal glands, which give their brain a boost because it's one of the only ways to boost your brain after all the damage that was done to the body at birth. When you cut that placenta too soon, your brain's the last thing that's developing. So you just cut off very important nutrients to the brain that are needed. All that medical excuses of why they do it, well, those aren't even valid anymore. One, somebody went around and found a way to offset that. Now it's just they do it out of tradition, but it's not tradition. They know exactly the damage that's being done to the brain. Think of it this way. As you're a kid, your mother mainly raises you. Why? Because your mother just wants to relive her childhood over and over and over and over and over again. She wants kids to be kids. Why? Because she wants to be a kid. Some fathers too, but for the most part, mothers, when your kid becomes a certain age and starts becoming a, this is a parenthesis, whatever. If you saw my fingers with the air quotation, they want them to grow up, to send them to the father, blah blah blah. But it's stupid. I was locked up and incarcerated and experimented on with multiple different drugs and pharmaceuticals just so my mom could enjoy living her childhood through my other siblings because I was growing up too quick. And the only thing she could yell at me as a kid is grow down. And just like the rest of my family, when I learned something new and I wanted to share, they put me down. Oh, you're just a know-it-all, huh? You think you're so smart. You know, when I worked at gathering that knowledge, I worked at learning those things. Even if it wasn't as hard as everybody else, it was still work to me. You know, it's funny. Because the thing is, after years of stunting the brain's growth, the genetic code, which we're made to be something else by now, we're supposed to be way more advanced biologically and genetically than we are. And the body's making up for it. It is. It's making up for it. Cutting that umbilical cord right after birth isn't going to be enough anymore. And I'm pretty sure doctors are realizing that. The body is naturally evolving to take that whole factor out of it. And so now, which is why we're using such heavy metal vaccines, guys. Heavy metals, they collect in the brain. And if you have power frequency weaponry or whatever, you can use those heavy metals to destroy the brain. It's simple science, and we know there's heavy metals in all the vaccines. Why do you think they're putting them in there, guys? Come on. That's not going to work for much longer anymore. And the thing is, they're running out of solutions to be able to prevent the evolutionary growth of the brain. Like, imagine our society if our brain was developed enough that we had control over our magnetic fields enough that telekinesis, moving stuff with your mind was real. Like, imagine how much dangerous, safer, dangerous jobs would be. Imagine how, not simpler, like it takes a lot of work to use your mind to do all that stuff. So it wouldn't be simpler, it would be just as much work. And that's what people don't want. Why? Because there are certain groups of people that they just want to keep living the glory days of 1940 and 1950. It's your mothers. Because as soon as they find a compatible, as soon as they're reborn into the family, they transfer all their memories and knowledge to their next vessel. But it has to be genetically compatible. But don't worry, see, they make sure that there's enough for all of them out there. Like they have clones of themselves. So if in one place, their kid doesn't have a kid that's genetically compatible, that's my grandbaby, blah blah. As they're sitting there transferring their consciousness to the new body, which is why they slowly lose their memories because they're transferring them out. It's not Alzheimer's. They're transferring their consciousness to new bodies, and they know it. It's crazy. Only certain men are allowed to know this. But from what I can tell, women have been doing this for a lot longer. And at some point, they take kids away from their dads so that the kid isn't able to do that. So that the husband of the person, and then they're trying to raise them right. There's nothing right about that. Your moms aren't God. Your dads aren't God. No human or group of humans or mob of humans will ever be God. It's a simple fact. The sun isn't God. The moon isn't God, and the earth isn't God. Consciousness exists out of living reality. See, we used to be really honest with ourselves way, way back in the ancient days. And the thing is, we did amazing things. Those pyramids. But think of it like this. When you play those games of consciousness and control over everybody else, the strongest consciousness wins. If you're in a battle of wills or whatever, then there's people who cheat. I don't know. It sucked. All of it sucked. Having to learn all this and having to figure all this out.